tutorial is 3.1. It comes after 3, because in 3 we looked at how to move around using a move script, and in 3.1 we're going to look at how to look around. So this is a completed example. If I run the game, what you'll see is the character. I'm able to move forward and backward, left and right, but I'm also able to use the mouse. Obviously I added the gun, which is something that will come later. We're able to use the mouse to look left and right, look up and down. So a move script is quite a complicated geometrical thing. But so let's dive into the code. So if you follow that article, which is in the link below, it will tell you what you need to do and how you need to create your script. So firstly, we need to create a mouse look script on the main camera. So the mouse look script will be on the main camera because we're going to need to rotate the camera up and down when we push forward and backwards on the mouse. Right, so let's do a little diagram of this. So let's have red as the x-axis. Terrible drawing. Y as blue is the z. And then we've got a yellow for the y. So what's happening when we rotate around, we want to rotate the player's body around this y-axis. So that's for like looking around like that. And when we want to look up and down, so we want to rotate around this x-axis here. That's looking up and down. So we're rotating around the x-axis. And rotating around the x-axis is done by pushing forward or backwards on the mouse, backwards, and rotating around, like looking left or right, is by moving left or right. So how do we represent this in the code? Well, firstly, we've got a public float variable for sensitivity. That's the sensitivity of the mouse, how much we want it to move by when we move the mouse. Then we've got this thing, a transform, a public transform player body. We're going to use that to connect this script to your character, because when we rotate around, we're actually going to rotate the whole player's body, because you would want to see a character actually moving around and not just the camera moving around. Then we've got X rotation. This is the amount we're going to rotate around the x-axis. So we've got some variables that we need to set up at the top. This thing here, cursor.lockState, will make the mouse disappear when we run the game, so that it won't interfere with it, and you won't be thinking, why is the mouse over there? And it's just you focus on moving the mouse. So the first one we've got here is float x. So this is a local variable in our update function that multiplies the amount that we move the mouse along the x-axis. So that will be a value between -1 and 1. It multiplies it by the sensitivity of the mouse, and that will get us our movement out on the x-axis, and that's what we're going to use to rotate the player around. Then we've got float y, a local variable in our update function that does the same thing, but with the y-axis. So when we move forward and backwards. So if I just draw a little diagram here, here's a mouse, not a very good mouse. And when we up and down, or the mouse y, so that would be the -y. This would be -x, and this would be right and left. Right would be x. So we've got these values that we're moving the mouse by, and we're getting them from getting the input from the mouse y and input from the mouse x and multiplying it by sensitivity. So right, once we've got those, in the same way that we got the x and z for the forward and back keys in the move script, we're then going to use these values, and I'm going to use the x value, the left and right, to rotate the player's body. How much? And vector three up is, well, if you can imagine. So when we talk about vectors, if you look up the docs for this, vector 3 up, this is all explained in the worksheet. Or if you just look at it here, vector 3 up is 0, 1, 0. So that's 0, 1, 0, 0 in the x, 1 in the y, and 0 in the z. So we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply that up vector by the amount that we're moving left and right. So because we are rotating around that y-axis. And then we have x rotation. X rotation is the amount we're moving the mouse on forward and backwards. And we're using that value to, and we're then going to clamp that value to minus 90 and 90 degrees. So imagine you've got an angle here, that's your head. You can't look further than 90 degrees that way, and you can't look further than 90 degrees down. If you do, you'd break your neck, and it wouldn't be very realistic. So we're doing something called clamping it between minus 90 and 90. Then finally, we've got this amount where we're going to rotate the transform of the camera. So we're saying transform here because it's the transform of the object, the game object that this script is on. And we're going to rotate that however much we've determined that the player is pushing the Y value. And you see here we've set the initial rotation to be minus Y. That's so that when we push forward, we'll look down, and when we pull back, we'll look up. So see if you can play around with that in a minute when you implement this script, and maybe you can switch the directions, switch the way you rotate when you go left or right, or switch the way you look up and down. And that is basically it. The only other things you need to set up once you've created this mouse script is that when you've got the player body, you'll have to make sure that you drag the capsule, the player's body, into that slot, and then it will be able to perform that rotation around the y-axis. So like this. So this is, if you look at this, what rotation value, I'm now rotating left, and I'm rotating the player's body. You can see is yeah, right. So if I click on the player body, the capsule, you can see the Y value is changing, the amount I'm rotating around the Y axis, because I'm rotating around. If I then look up and down, I click on the main camera, you can see that my X rotation is changing. It's negative when I'm looking up, and then it goes positive when I'm looking down. So that is how a mouse look script works. So look at the link below for the article, and good luck.